say the right words. Lord, I come to you right now, and I'm asking you, Lord, let me speak your words, not mine. Lord, I ask you for guidance. I want to make you proud. Lord, if I can touch one person here today, just one person, two would be good, Lord. God, just guide me, give me your strength. I know I can do this with your strength. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. So, the first thing that I never forget when somebody meets me, they think that I've never done anything wrong. But I promise you, I did not send Melinda my resume, okay, to get hired in here. I came to the front door with bags in my hands, like everybody else does. And those bags weren't even packed by me, they were packed by my mom. Because I was in jail. I've been in jail for 4 months, and she had to find, when you're in jail, you get a little late, so she had to find as much as she possibly could that she thought I could wear while I was here, which is, a little bit of nothing. I want to very quickly, the reason that I am so skittish that you rarely ever see me up here giving my testimony. Oh, Sharon Smith, I love you so much, and thank you so much for your counseling, okay? Because it's the reason that I'm so skittish about giving my testimony is because I have a hard time forgiving myself for what all I've done. Okay, I can sit here and tell you each individual story and your mind would fall to the floor, but I was a horrible person and I know that. But I was a warrior for Satan, okay? I hope I'm making God proud right now, okay? Because I want to be on his team. I want you to be on his team. That's what matters the absolute most. I did what all other kids do. I played the part, had friends, went on to spend the night parties, I did the same things that those kids do. I just always had something else involved in another part of my life. Went to school. I was the youngest of 6 kids. I had 3 older brothers. My oldest brother was 10 years older than me. And so when I have to kind of paint a picture. When I was 7, he was 17. And I don't want anybody to start thinking anything crazy because I wish I had something like y'all are thinking right now to blame on. Okay, but I don't. I never was sexually molested, and when I start talking about my brothers, I feel like that's where everybody's mind goes. But the reason I'm talking about them is because they were much older than me, and they were already dabbling in weed and a little bit of cocaine and things like that. And I can remember at 7 years old, my brother handed me some weed in front of his friends and said, "Hey, watch what my little sister will do." And so I thought what I was doing was cute and funny. And I was like, yeah, I can do that. But I didn't know that it was just going to progress much longer and much more. So first time I ever got high was 7 years old. That's the first time I can remember getting high. Because I was so young, I guess, I had to learn to function with drugs in the background. But of course, drugs never stayed in the background. They ended up coming to the forefront. Okay? I don't want to say I was a functioning addict or anything like that, because I don't think there's such thing. I think there's a way that you learn how to live and do that too. And even as a young child, that you're not supposed to talk about it at school or around certain people. And I need to know if Annette Hanson is here. Golly, I wish she was here. She plays such a big part in this. Everybody knows Annette Hanson, and not in my early, but kind of early. She was a good friend of my brothers and sisters when I was growing up. And so when I tell you it comes to the forefront, it happened for me at age 13. Okay? with an eagle in arm when I was 13 years old. I started cooking. Okay? And I knew I couldn't talk about it in front of anybody else. You don't talk about that. You know, my brothers would always say, you can do this, this, and this, but you never should go. Right? And I'm like, well, that's exactly what I want to do. You know, somebody's telling you can't do that, must be pretty doggone good. So that's exactly what I want to do. And what happens after you do it that way? You never go back to smoking anything again. Okay? So I learned how to cope with that. And then these little pills started coming around called Loveladies. Okay? Started doing those. When I was in high school, when I would run out, when I didn't have any pills, I thought I had the flu. I didn't know what they call dope sick. I thought I had a flu, and I knew that they would make the flu go away. That's how young and stupid I was. Okay, I didn't know that I had a huge problem going on. I even remember telling somebody one time, hey, y'all know what? I know something that I cured a cold and flu. So that just goes to show how ignorant to the problem I was. Let's move on a little longer. And Annette was, I don't want to put her in a bad light because she shines such a bright light in later. And I don't want everybody to, let's see Annette. I don't because she plays such a big part in the outcome is what's so beautiful about it. Okay. I ended up going to college, getting married, having children, you know, the life that most people do, divorced, having worked really hard. And of course, when you have to work really hard, you have a stimulant behind you to help you work hard. Okay? After I got divorced, and after I had accumulated somewhat of a life, but after the divorce, and I could just about do whatever I wanted to, and my ex-husband had the kids most of the time, you know, in the summer, you know, all summer long, and we got over the Christmas vacation and AA and things like that, so it left me a lot of free time. When I got introduced to that took me down the absolute quickest of anything else. That's when I lost absolutely everything. That one drug is so evil. They all are, but that one drug is so evil. And you will downplay it, and you will sit there and tell yourself how wonderful it is, and how clear it can make you think, and how much more you can get done, and it is lying to you every single day. I ended up getting involved in a couple of people, with a couple of people that not only knew how to make it, taught me how to make it. I knew who to sell to. I was making a whole lot, and it turned out to where I was, that's all I was doing. My whole job. I lost my job, had a good job, lost my job, lost my house, lost everything. And still, I felt like if I could just make more meth and do a little more, then I could make more money and get my life back.
Yeah.
Okay. I got busy living in Tuscaloosa. 933.77 runs ago in the house.
Oh!
So you know I'm all right. There's no way out. I go to prison 2.5 years. AIS knows 23, 26, 53 if y'all know me. You never forget that number. When I got out of prison and somebody asked me what my social security number was, I said 23, 26, 53. And I was like, oh wait, that's not my that's a number you never forget. It's like embedded in your brain. I wish I could forget that. Okay? I'm not going to talk about that. I get out of prison, and I wish I could tell you that my life in there just gets all better. That I learned my lesson, and there was this whole beautiful life, and there was my kids, and everything was wonderful, how not to get high. I had been high all of my life. I had no clue how not to get high. I can remember my precious mother. I can remember her telling me so many times, Connie, why don't you just stop? Just stop what you're doing. And I said, okay, I'll quit. I'll quit right now. Now what? Right now I'll quit. Now what do I do? How do I live? And it was foreign. It was so foreign. I had no clue what to do next. If I wanted to quit right then, I had no clue which direction to even head in. I didn't have any other friends except friends that got high. I didn't have my family. There's some good and there's some bad. I didn't know what to do. So I continued to get high. Nobody told me anything different. She didn't have a game plan for when I quit. So I kept on getting high. While I was on parole, I smoked my parole officer. If he was a hundred. He was such a good parole officer. He was an amazing. I was running smoke the whole time. 5 years. No, not 5 years. Now 4.5 years. I decided to give up. I'm tired of faking all this. I'm just going to go away. I'm going to get high, and I'm not going to have to worry about that next month's test. And so I put my parole agreement, of course. I didn't go back. My parole officer told my mother, he said, I'm not going to chase her anywhere. She's going to get caught. And I'm not even going to waste my gas. She will get caught. Okay? And I did. And I had warrants in just about every city in Alabama when I did. So I ended up back in Jefferson County Jail, and this is what's crazy, is because I'd spent 1 year and 5 days in that hellacious place. Okay, that seems like a whole era of my life. That is the worst place for a woman to be, for a lady. That is the worst place in the world. It doesn't smell very nice. It's the cleanest place in the world. People talk to you like you're crazy. And you kind of look crazy by the time you get there. So, I have to tell you this quick story. I'm sitting in jail, and I started doing everything that I'd done when I was in jail before. I was going to be a doctor, I was going to get medicine that everybody loves, I was going to sell medicine, make commissary, I was going to do exactly everything that I had done the yearbook that I was going to report. And there was this little group of ladies that wanted me to have Bible study with them every morning. And I was like, maybe tomorrow. If I feel like tomorrow, I will. Well, something hits me, and I'm sitting there thinking, I really want something different. I don't want to go to jail every other day. I don't want to worry about going to prison anymore. And that's the time I'm not going to prison. I'm going to parole violation. I'm going back to prison. And so they asked me, they said, please just come Bible study one at a time. I said, okay, I'm going to give your little Bible study a chance. And so I had, just to let you know, been raised in private schools to where Bible was one of my subjects, and so I didn't think there was much that you could tell me about the Bible because I passed all of my tests. Okay? So for a long time, people would even get up here, and I was like, I don't know what it says, and Satan was telling me, don't even listen to them. That's not what it says. They even paraphrased a little bit. It's not what it says. Don't listen to them. Anyway, so I'm in the county jail, and I decided to give their little Bible study a chance. And she said, just open up the Bible anywhere. This is how it works. Just open up the Bible anywhere, and God's going to talk to you. I was like, okay. So I said, let me just give this a try. I open up the Bible, and it opens up to Matthew 7:7. Anybody, Pastor Leslie? Knock and you shall receive. No. Ask and you shall receive. Knock and the door will be opened unto you. Okay? So they're like, maybe you should ask him for something. I think God's telling you to ask him for something. So I go in my little prayer corner, and they tell me how to do it and everything. county jail. I just want to know my fate. If you could tell me what's going to happen to me, that'd be great. I just want to know my fate. And so I started looking around, and I thought, well, the second verse said, knock, and the door will be open to you. And I thought, well, that's the only door I want open is that big slider right there that's keeping me in this door. So if anybody knows anything about Jefferson County Jail, you don't touch that slider unless somebody is dying. But I just walked over to it and just tap, tap, tap. Okay, and I walked on. Okay, so the very next hour, they said, okay, roll back in, you're going back in your cells. So I go back in, and I'm sitting there, and I'm still thinking about all that. And I'm like, it'd be nice to know what's going to happen. I'm going to go back to prison. I have all my stuff to take to prison. I have my whites, my shoes, you know what you do to prepare for prison. And so, then my door popped open, and they said, Farrell, come out. And I was like, man, here in intake, faxing my judge an acceptance letter to the Lovelady Center. I had to go back the following Monday, just for technicality, right? Just to have it official and wait on the man to come get me to send me to prison. So this is where, y'all don't believe in God or prayer, please stop what you're thinking. Okay, I understand this is how it worked. After I signed the paper, and I go back to my dorms, Tuscaloosa County has dorms, and I hit my knees right there in front of God and everybody, and I said the most sincere prayer that I've ever said in my entire life. And I want to tell you something, I didn't pray for him to get me out of this. I didn't think that was an option at all. That wasn't an option. I already signed the paper. What I asked God for on that day was to give me the frame of mind to be able to handle this. I knew that I was going to have to turn into this whole other person again to get down there and survive. You're just not yourself there. You're a whole other person. It's nothing like you. So I go back to court the following Monday, and I had to kind of paint a picture because I don't really know how to say this to make you feel like I felt on that day. I'm standing before the judge, my attorney's right here, the DA is standing over here to the side, and he says, Miss Farrell, I've got this paper right here. Got a letter from the Lovelady Center. I said, okay. He said, I'm thinking about it. That's really nice. And he says, what do you think about it? I already asked my opinion on the Lovelady Center. Okay, I've heard of it. I knew a few people that had gone through there. He says, I think I'm considering it for you. And I said, okay. And you have to keep remembering that I'm looking at my attorney like, why does he keep talking about the Lovelady Center when I just want to go pay myself? Live just in my life. And he can't get it through my mind. I'm telling you, it takes about 15 minutes for me to understand what he's talking about. And he says, I am considering that for you. And I'm just looking all confused. And I said, Your Honor, I'm not trying to be disrespectful or anything. I said, I just really don't know how that's going to work. I said, are they going to come get me from Tutwiler? Or is there like a program at Tutwiler? I'm going to need some more explanation on that. And he says, I'm thinking about sending you to the Lovelady Center. And my stomach starts hurting just a little bit. I'm a little nervous. I can't really talk that good. And I said, Your Honor, please tell me right now. I said, are you talking about instead of prison or in lieu of prison? And he said, instead of. And I couldn't breathe. And I'm sitting there and I'm crying. My mother showed up in the courtroom behind me and I did not want her there. You know, I didn't want her there to see me sitting there. And she's sitting behind me. And I turned around and looked at her and I was like, is this real? And she's shaking her head, yes. Okay, y'all, it makes my mouth a little dry when I talk about that because I'm telling you, I signed the paperwork. Okay, all I asked God for was to give me the frame of mind to be able to handle it. And He paid back so much more. Wait a minute. I don't even know why you thought I was worth it, really.
But you're awesome.
I get here, now I'm really unsure of things. I'm sitting in here and tape, Paula Richardson was in there, and like, she's such an angel. And she was just like holding my hand and calling me Connie Jean, and I've never let anybody but my dad ever call me that. And I was like, that sounds so precious coming from her. So I'm crying in there, and I'm just flooded with emotions, and I don't really know what to do. And y'all, I promise, I even called my mom when she left me, and I was like, why did you drop me off to live in a mall? Please come get me. And she couldn't do it. At stores and salons and coffee shops, you know. I felt like I was living in the mall. So, anyway. I say that, all of that, because there was a prayer that was said so sincerely. Okay? When I came in the door, and everybody tells you how they feel the love, and it is there, it's just foreign, and you don't really know what it is at first. You know, God is in every single nook and cranny of this building. When I used to listen to your sermons, you paraphrased a whole lot, and you were putting it in words that we could understand. And you're exactly what this place needs right now. Okay? Thank you so much. Let me tell y'all what. Okay, they have asked me to speak in. Why you are so bad. Jeannie Carricker has asked me to speak in front of a news camera. They have asked me to speak in front of a concert. There's been a couple of little situations that she's like, yeah, I need you to talk. And I'm like, I just don't know if I like doing that, Jeannie. And she keeps pulling me out. But y'all are my people. Talking before in my life, and I thought when I got up here and told y'all what a horrible person I was, that y'all would never love me again. But and I'd be that horrible person today if it wasn't for God.